Okay, I'm so excited about what's happening in September. Tell folks.
September 13th, you all, our first ever Raising Boys and Girls Parenting Conference called Raising Capable Kids.
We're going to have all brand new content. You and I are going to teach multiple times that day. We've got some incredible friends we've invited, good food, great coffee, all the ingredients for a perfect day.
Tickets are going fast. Hop on to raisingboysandgirls.com, link in the show notes, and get yours now.
Welcome to the Raising Boys and Girls podcast.
I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas, and we're so glad you've joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in.
David, you know what song's been going through my head?
What?
Grease 2, which totally marks our age.
Indeed it
Remember,
does.
Back to school. So bad. Sorry, I'm singing on the podcast. Don't have any business doing
Not
that.
so bad. It's so good. Any episode we start with Grease is just good.
Yes. So, happy back to school.
Rydell High.
Oh, wouldn't we
Happy
trade
back
things
to
for
school.
Rydell High? Okay, this episode, we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about 2 things we want girls to know going back to school, 2 things we want boys to know going back to school, and
2 things we want parents to know.
you got homework too, your kids are getting
That's
homework.
right. Kids are not the only ones.
So, 30 years into counseling, there are a few things we feel like are especially important to remember for kids in this day and time. You want me to kick it off with girls?
Kick it off with girls.
Okay. Number 1, here's what I want girls to know. You ready for all this wisdom? You can do it. I want us to be saying that to them over and over and over in this season because you all know we talk about it all the time. Girls are leading the statistics on anxiety twice as likely as boys. And I think there is so much of that school brings right back up. And so when you're having recurring tummy aches with her, when you're having recurring headaches, more tearfulness, all of that's going to be really normal. And you all, I want you to offer her a lot of coping strategies and a little rescue. Actually, no rescue in this season because we have a lot of families come September, mid-September, October, who are in counseling, and we have a handful of families every year who've already pulled their kids out because their kids are anxious. Now, if they're throwing up on the way to school, that is a reason to not be going. But otherwise, they need to remember that they can do hard things. And you all, when we start doing that, if you pull them from school because they have a tummy ache one morning, the next morning's going to be even harder to get there. And so to think about how can you go back to arming her with some things that can help. And I'm a huge advocate of even making things like you make a friendship bracelet with her and you wear one and she wears one and you say to her, I'm going to touch mine throughout the day and you touch yours and we'll know we're thinking about each other and praying for each other. Anything like that we can do where she feels some connection and she feels prepared. I would say even coming up with a plan with the teacher for what to do if she starts to feel anxious, that she has a signal and she can go to the bathroom and she can run cold water over her hands, which is, in fact, a grounding technique. And that would be my last idea thinking about girls. Our first 3 things we do always when it comes to anxiety are teaching them breathing first, which y'all know we talk about that all the time. Deep breathing is going to regulate the cortisol in their bodies, which is the stress hormone. It's going to help them get back to their rational brains. We talk about it often. Strong and Smart and Braver, Stronger, Smarter. If you have younger kids, middle school age kids, have some practical ways to do it. But when they can breathe, they can calm themselves back down. They need to recognize where they start to feel anxiety first in their bodies. So talking through that with them, and that is a signal that they need to start doing some square breathing where they can regulate their bodies. So breathing, then grounding. And grounding, y'all remember, we say this all the time, anxiety is in the past and the future, not the present moment. So anything that anchors them back to the present. So our favorites, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, tell me 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you feel. I can't even remember all my way through all the senses, but the 5 senses. They can do that with you on the way to school. They can start to do it themselves sitting in their desk at school. Another one of my favorites is you can pick any 2 senses. What are 3 things you see? What are 3 things you feel? Now wiggle 3 parts of your body. So they're bringing some movement into the grounding. They can do math. There's so many things they can do that can help them help ground themselves when they start to feel anxious. And then the last is always teaching them to talk back to that worried voice in their head. Y'all know we love to give it a name. The worry monster, Bob,
The Hulk.
for boys, anything, any name they come up with so that they can start to say, worry, I'm not listening to you. You're not the boss of me and you're wrong. I'm fine at school. Just because I touched someone else's desk that was sick a week ago doesn't mean I'm going to get sick now. That they learn to talk back to that worried voice in their head, which is one of the first things we do in therapy as adults is learn positive self-talk. So arming them with those coping strategies, you can send them with a list if they're younger in their backpack of things they can do if they start to feel worried. And if they're older, they could put it in their phone so they've got it on hand. But we want to arm them with the things they can do to calm the worry and remind them that they're stronger than their worry anyway.
That is so good. So important. So
Okay,
needed.
What's your first on boys?
Okay, first reminder I want to give parents of boys is that school will be frustrating. Not might be frustrating, could be frustrating, will be frustrating, and that's not a bad thing. I talk a lot about Dr. Susan David, who wrote Emotional Agility, says discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life.
Ooh, say it
Isn't that
again.
great? Discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life.
That's so good.
So we're going to hit up against discomfort in the everyday, and school is going to likely provide a lot of discomfort for a lot of boys because I've taught before and would simply remind you that this environment often, not always, is going to bend to a girl's strengths. So, there's a lot of sitting still and maintaining focus required. And generally speaking, a lot of girls are going to be gifted in those capacities where that's going to be harder for a lot of boys. And school is heavy on written and verbal expression. Boys are not primarily auditory learners. And so it's going to be a struggle for him that there's a lot of listening, a lot of writing, things that don't always play to his strengths that, again, are going to trigger some discomfort. And that will be a context for growth. I want to remind you of that, parents, in the hardest moments, whether that's hearing him report on the day or working through homework in the evening. And in thinking about the discomfort, I want you to be thinking about how could we take the concepts and ideas that I talk a lot about, that we create a space for him at home on the road. How could he take the wisdom of the space into the academic environment so that when he hits up against frustration, whether it's a time test that he feels like he didn't do well on, or whether it was a kickball game at recess and his team lost and he's got to work through the discomfort and frustration of that loss before he jumps back into the learning, whatever the day might hold. I love thinking through how boys could take some of those strategies on the road with them. So I had a very wise 7-year-old boy tell me years ago that he and I had been talking a lot about using stress balls, and he loved to squeeze a stress ball in his non-dominant hand when he would work on homework, which I thought was a great idea. And he said, my mom let me order 3 sets of stress balls. And I said, she did? And I said, tell me where you put the 3. And he said, I keep 1 set in my backpack, so I have it at school if I need it. My teacher will let me use it, and then I pull it out when I'm doing homework. He said, I keep a 2nd set in my desk upstairs so that if I'm upstairs doing homework, I've got a set, or I'm downstairs and it's in my backpack pocket, I've got a set. And he said, I keep the 3rd set in my mom's glove compartment. And I said, you do? I said, when do you use it mostly in your mom's car? And he said, on the ride home, because my mom will ask my sister and I about our day, and I can tell her everything about my day in less than 5 minutes. But my sister talks nonstop the whole ride home. And he said, so she'll hand me back my stress balls and I'll squeeze them when I get frustrated that my sister is talking and talking and talking and talking.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And the wisdom of that, knowing for this little 7-year-old guy that this strategy that works at home could work in the car, could work at school, could work in different places. So let's take the space on the go. And now a quick break to hear from one of our incredible sponsors who make the podcast available.
Last time we talked, David, you were making chocolate chip banana bread every 10 minutes, according to Connie.
Unfortunately, I still am. You know I'm obsessed with the Our Place Always Pan 2.0, and I just added in some bakeware, and now I can't stop using it. I have the whole set in sage green.
Our Place makes better kitchen products that are better for you.
Most nonstick cookware still contains harmful chemicals like Teflon and other PFAS, which can leach into food, the environment, and our home. Our Place is changing that with an array of beautiful, toxin-free, high-performance cookware and appliances designed for safer, simpler, and more enjoyable home cooking.
Our Place's cookware set will upgrade your kitchen in one fell swoop. The set includes 2 multifunctional always pans and 2 perfect pots in mini and full sizes that replace a bulky, expensive stack of cookware. With just 4 pieces, you can sear, saute, fry, bake, boil, roast, steam, and more.
This is cookware that's designed for performance and built to last. Designed in Los Angeles with over 200 patents, Our Place's products are trusted by Michelin star chefs and have over 80,000 5-star reviews.
Stop cooking with toxic cookware and upgrade to Our Place today. Visit FromOurPlace.com/RBG and use code RBG for 10% off site-wide. With a 100-day risk-free trial, free shipping and returns, you can experience this game-changing cookware with 0 risk. Hiya, David.
Hiya, Sissy.
No, Hiya is the answer for how to get your day started in the right way, according to my nephew, Whit.
Well, he is not wrong. That amazing guy knows that typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives growing kids should never eat. That's why Hiya created a super-powered, chewable vitamin.
Formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immune system, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more.
And are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with 55-plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy.
We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/RBG. This deal is not available on their regular website.
Go to hiyahealth.com/RBG and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. And now back to the show.
Well, since we're dogging on sisters a little bit, I need to say, I don't know if you remember this, but we had a family we worked with in common. I saw the older daughter, you saw the younger son, and she made him an on-the-go stress kit. And it was in a pencil pouch, and it had stress balls and all kinds of things.
It.
And he took it to school every day. So sisters talk a lot, but they can be helpful.
They can be so helpful.
Yes.
And, you know, as we even talk around these ideas, the amazing ones that you were giving to girls, some thoughts I'm throwing out to boys, I'm thinking back to this incredible opportunity that you and I had this summer. We got to share a cup of coffee with a new friend, is someone that we love and admire and respect her work and have had on the podcast, Dr. Lisa D'Amour. Go back and listen to that episode. We loved it. And we got a chance to sit in on a talk that Lisa did, and she was reminding all of us as we talk around these ideas that coping is key to well-being. Coping is key to well-being. So we want to be on the journey, all of us, figuring out what are healthy ways of coping. And the 2 rules of thumb that I still remember her talking about, which I love, which is a great reminder for all of us today, is that it brings relief and it does no harm. So if I'm a 7-year-old boy and I'm yelling at my sister, then that doesn't meet the criteria for the does no harm. Or if I'm a teenage girl and I'm talking really negatively to myself, that doesn't meet the criteria for that. So how could we think in those 2 categories of things that bring relief and do no harm? That'd be a great conversation for you to have as a family around the dinner table as you're thinking about coping.
Ooh, that's so good.
Okay. How about another one?
Okay, my second for girls is I want you to focus more on being a friend than having a friend. Because as we're talking about anxiety, I think social anxiety is one of the biggest parts of anxiety for girls today. And thinking about school, I mean, not only is she thinking about performing academically, doing all the extracurriculars, but also relationally. And in this age of social anxiety, I'm watching more girls than ever withdraw. And not only withdraw, but expect others to follow them in their withdrawal. And in fact, I put a post on Instagram this week about it was 5 or 10 things, I think, from a list I have in Brave, which is my book for teenage girls, where I talk about all these friendship truths, like no one will follow you into a corner, just different things that I want every girl to hear, because I think it can be so easy to be focused on what people are not doing for us rather than what we can do for others. And there's something called confirmation bias that, in fact, we find what we're looking for. So if I'm looking for people who are being kind and reaching out to me, I'm going to see more of that. But if I'm looking for who's leaving me out, who's not talking to me, I'm going to see more of that. And one of my favorite conversations I will never forget that I had with a teenage girl years ago, she was introverted, which we're going to be talking about in the not too far distant future. And she said, okay, I've made a mission for myself. When she came in one week and I said, tell me what that means. And she said, well, I'm calling it Operation Branch Out. And I'm going to find 2 new people each week that I can try and talk to at school that hopefully will lead to friendships. And I think I was the only one who knew about Operation Branch Out. But I loved that because I do think we've got to help them get outside of themselves, reach out to others, because that is going to give them more confidence when they're at school. It's going to help them feel more peace at school. It's going to help them have more confidence in themselves. And again, when we're reaching out, that does so much more of it than when we're thinking inward. And so even something I had another mom do that I loved, her daughter was really struggling in friendships. And when she came to see me, and it wasn't really that she was struggling with friendships, it was that group, there's always that group in the grade. That group wasn't accepting her. And she said, no one likes me. No one wants to be my friend. And her really wise mom said, so we decided to expand our circle a little bit. And she said, I pulled out the yearbook from last year. And I told her every week, you're going to pick 2 people that you're going to talk to and ask at least one question of. And I want you to show me who they are before you go to school the next day. And I'm going to be praying for you and for them while you do that. And that's so sweet. And so how can we help them have an Operation Branch Out, even where they know we're with them and behind them and for them in the midst of it, where they can focus more on being a friend than who's being theirs?
I love that.
You're so kind.
And it's fascinating that was your second idea, because my second idea is about boys and friendships.
Wow.
In fact, I'm going to call it Romans 12:15-16, and I love this particular translation in the Message. It says, laugh with your happy friends when they're happy, share tears when they're down. And I think that would be a great way to frame a boy's objective around friendship this year, which is so in keeping with what you said of looking outward. And one of my favorite chapters in Raising Emotionally Strong Boys that I got a chance to write was chapter 6, which is on friends and allies. And I invite parents to watch a documentary that I had a chance to watch with my own sons years ago called Kipchoge. It's an interesting name. It's based on an amazing Olympic athlete named Eliud Kipchoge, who was raised by a single mom in Kenya and fell in love with running because he had to run to school every single day.
Wow.
Because he lived far away. And he would go on to break Olympic records and run the fastest marathon in under 2 hours. It's an incredible story. I'd so recommend you watch it. But he introduces this idea of pace setters, who are people who run with you and who cheer you on and who challenge you. And it's a great story that I think embodies the beauty of that passage in Romans 12. So there's another bit of homework you could think on doing in the weekend is watch that movie together as a family. It'd be a great one to watch. And parents, I'm going to give you a little more homework to this. If you have a copy of Raising Emotionally Strong Boys, I want you to look on pages 107 and 117. There are questions that I think are great to ask boys about friendship that help them not only, to Sissy's wisdom, think about the kinds of friends they want, but the kind of friends they want to be. And so I think those would be some helpful questions that you could think about together. And can I throw in a part B of this one?
Please.
So as we talk about running, I love this time of year because it's cross-country season, and all 3 of my kids ran cross-country, and I miss it, actually. I love to go to cross-country meets and just cheer kids on. And I really wish every kid could maybe do at least one season of running club when you're in elementary school, and maybe do cross-country in middle school or high school if that's possible, because I think you learn a lot of grit, a lot about endurance, a lot about pushing through hard things, a lot of learning to be capable, which we'll talk more about in just a second. And we're going to talk more in a little while about something else that I think can be beneficial with cross-country. So I'm going to tease you with that right now. But would say, first off, I want us to think about talking with the kids we love about their pace setters, talking with the boys we love about their pace setters. So we're ready to talk about some more things for parents to know.
Yes.
You
want
go
me to
first.
jump in first?
Yeah.
Okay. It is mid-August as you're listening to this, and mid-September, we have something really important coming.
Oh, yes, we do.
And I'm going to start with that. If you at all can, if you're in Nashville, no reason not to be at the conference. And in fact, if you're missing a soccer game for your kids, we actually recommend that you miss 1 or 2 soccer games. It's not a bad thing to miss some of their sporting events. And we can talk about why later, but we actually will talk about that not too far off, and maybe at the conference. Also, if you're traveling, we just traveled to a conference not just last weekend, and it was so helpful and so fun to get out of town and go to other restaurants.
Yes.
We've got a list of all of our favorite restaurants, all kinds of things if you come. But we would love for you to come to the conference, because the first thing I would say as a parent is, and we can't say this enough, to do your own work.
Yes.
Because part of starting school means it is going to be hard academically, like you talked about, but it's also going to be hard emotionally. And Madeline L'Engle is one of our favorite authors, and she has this great quote about, "You are every age you've ever been." And so when your 7th grade daughter is rejected by other friends, you're going to feel it as deeply, if not more deeply than her. And there's another statement that we love in the therapy world that's, if it's hysterical, it's historical.
Yes.
So when our feelings are over the top about something, it's really more about us than it is about them. And so as a parent, I want you to be very aware of your response. Is your response that you're rescuing or you're reacting? And I think in those times, especially if you're reacting with more emotion than they have, we've crossed over into it being hysterical and not helpful, unhelpful, in fact. And so to think about instead, what does it look like for you to do your own work, to go for a walk, to journal, to get a copy of The Worry-Free Parent, to come to the conference. Because anytime we can do that work, our kids are only going to reap the benefits. It's going to exponentially make things better for them, because what kids will say to us over and over and over is, when my parents have more emotions about the situation than I do, I don't want to talk to him anymore. And so we take ourselves out of the conversation. So do your own work. What would you add?
I'm going to add this. We talk a lot about becoming students of the kids we love. And thinking about the back to school episode, and this being the beginning of a new school year, there is a chance that your son or daughter has jumped into a new stage of development, not just a new school year. And so
true.
We'd want to invite you to go back and listen to, you don't have to listen to the whole Ages and Stages season, but listen to the episodes specific to where your son or daughter are, what might be right now, so that you get either a refresher of what you know or some new reminders of a different stage of development that they're in that we think could be really helpful. And Ages and Stages season, we think, could be a great tool to study development. But also we want to invite you, in becoming a student of the child you love, to study temperament. And guess what? We're going to go ahead and do a little teaser right now. We have a brand new season of the podcast coming out that we are super excited about. And the whole thing is going to be about studying temperament. We are going to be looking at personalities. Parenting personalities is what we're calling this season of the podcast. And so we're doing the homework for you right there. How does that sound? Somebody just did your homework for you. So we're going to be bringing you a lot of content in that space that we think will make the studying of temperament that much easier. And we are super excited.
Super excited.
And we have some unbelievable guests who are going to be joining us in this season as well. Incredible experts. We're going to be offering a lot to that time. So we hope you will stay with us. And congratulations. The fact that we're recording this and school's already started means you've already made it past the first week of school.
That's right. Way to go.
Which we wish we could give you an Olympic medal now.
You're doing great.
Doing great.
David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible. Chris Starrett, our engineer.
Our management team at KCH.
And we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.